Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Learning to Glow podcast. If you are new, welcome to our show. You're in for a treat. We have such a great episode today. I'm your host, Jess, and today we are diving into one of my favorite topics, which is gut health. My guest, Anu Simh, is here to show you and to share how improving your gut can transform your energy, your mood, your sleep, and even your skin. Anu is a board-certified functional health coach, and she blends her background in organic chemistry, Ayurvedic counseling, and holistic nutrition to guide clients toward vibrant, lasting health. Her approach focuses on real, simple solutions that fit into everyday life and includes delicious meals and desserts. Her work centers on gut health, sleep quality, which we talk about in this episode, circadian rhythm, and the brain's reward system to reduce inflammation, manage cravings, and support sustainable weight loss. My favorite part of this episode is how she shared information about the microbes in our gut and how to get more of the beneficial bacteria through diet. And I loved her examples. She gave so many great examples. And I told her, honestly, I get stuck in a rut. She talks about diversifying your diet. And I'm like, I do not do that. Sometimes I get stuck in like the same groups of foods. And she gave some really good tips on this and how to change it up a little bit without like anything too crazy. And just some great foods that will help with that gut health, which was incredible, like herbs and spices, things that I am excited to start using more in my diet after speaking with her. You can go to my show notes and find all of her information, including her new book, which sounds amazing and has lots of recipes in it. Please share this episode with someone in your life, especially a mom, if you know a mom who could benefit from this. This is such a great episode if you have kids, and they can be any age. So enjoy this one, and thanks so much for being here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show today. We have Anu with us, and welcome to Learning to Glow.
Thank you, Jess. Just a pleasure. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, welcome. And honestly, thank you for coming on today. We're excited to talk about, we have a lot of things we could go, a lot of directions that we could go in today. But before we start our conversation, can you please tell our listeners a little bit about you, what you do, how you got started, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So my name's Anu Simh. I am a board-certified functional health coach. My background is science, and I, like most of us, we just don't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to be a coach." It's just my own personal journey, my struggles with health, really kind of brought me to this, to gut health and what I do today. So I founded 9 Arms of Wellness because I discovered the connection between health and the microbiome many, many, many moons ago when the Human Microbiome Project had just started. There was a lot of, research just getting started. And I realized that perhaps that was a missing piece of the puzzle because I had just done the traditional route of going to many, many doctors, trying to look for answers, didn't find the answers, felt very, very frustrated. And finally, that frustration and hopelessness led me to do some research on my own. And that's how I came about learning a lot more about the microbiome. And I saw my health changing. And so when that happened, of course, when you heal yourself, you just want to go out and just tell the whole world about it. And so that's pretty much what happened with me. So
I love that. I think it's really interesting to talk about the gut because of what could happen, what could be the symptoms if it's unhealthy. So when you were starting to learn about all of this, what did you feel like was a kind of a light bulb moment with the gut of like, oh, this can cause problems in this area of my health because of the gut? And how do you even know if you're having gut issues? How do you know it could be the root cause being the gut?
Yeah. Well, that's a very interesting question. For me, the first thing was I wasn't able to digest the foods that I could previously digest without a problem. So it's like, what's happening? The same beans that I loved or the veggies, all of that was giving me problems. I was bloated one day, okay the next. I could never quite figure out how I was going to respond to a certain food. And that's very frustrating. That kind of just makes you feel like I don't know how to approach food with this feeling of confidence and comfort, that, okay, this is going to actually be nourishing for me. I'd lost that. And
Mm.
so that was the first thing, that something's amiss. And so I hadn't, of course, at that time connected it to anything because we didn't know in those days, we didn't know, oh, it could be SIBO, it could be IBS. We didn't have any, labels per se. We're just in the infancy of learning more. But then other things can happen too. You could feel foggy in the head because there's a gut brain connection. Your immune system can be compromised because 70% of your immune system is in the gut. And when your gut and brain are constantly communicating, your gut is sending way more messages to the brain than the other way around. 90% of serotonin, your calming, some people call it happy hormone, is made in the gut. So, and messages are sent through the vagus nerve to the brain. And so when your gut is imbalanced, it's not just something that shows up as a gut symptom. It can be so many different things: inflammation, chronic inflammation, type 2 diabetes, weight gain, which is what that's sort of my niche. I will help women live at the ideal weight. And there's a huge connection with the microbiome. So and then it's bio individual. Some people feel like their weakest link is the gut. Others, it could be their metabolic issues. Some others who keep falling sick say that, oh my gosh, it's my immune system. I have allergies. And right there, if someone came to me and said that, the first thing I would think about is, how is this person's oral tolerance? Maybe they've been on restrictive diets and really cut out so many foods that they are responding poorly to most foods. So, and again, gut skin is another
Mm-hmm.
thing, because gut skin, as we know, is bidirectional. The gut is sending messages to skin. The skin has its own layer, gut a skin barrier. And so if the gut is off, the skin is off, or the other way around too. So there are many ways that one can see that dysbiosis playing out in different areas, not just the gut.
It's so true, especially yeah, like you said with the skin. I've seen that so much in my career. One of the things that you said about the gut was the immune system. I just want to touch on that because I remember when I was most having gut issues in my 20s, I remember going to a doctor and I was just like sick all the time. If there was like a cold going around, I got it every single time. I was always getting sick. And I had a doctor that told me that I was just born with a weak immune system and that I just get sick all the time. But once I got healthier, I don't get sick all the time
Yeah.
anymore. That's not true at all for
Yeah,
me.
it's not. No, I mean, and the thing is, it all comes from not knowing enough. And unfortunately, our doctors are so busy in the practice itself. They're really behind on research, almost 17 years, and it's not their fault. It's just the way the system is. There's no time to really consider what else is happening, and which is changing today, of course.
Sure.
So 70% of your immune system is in the gut. The microbes, just for an overall view, your gut, your colon has trillions of bacteria. And so we have a symbiotic partnership with them. We take care of them, give them a place to live. I'm simplifying, of course. And we give them the foods that they really thrive on, that they look at as fuel, and they respond and they thank us by producing some amazing compounds called short chain fatty acids, butyrate in particular. So if you don't really give them that the foods that they want, when they're not producing these amazing compounds for us. So it's a symbiotic partnership.
Hmm.
So same thing with the immune system. It's these microbes are the immune system is like the training ground. They train the immune system to say, hey, this is a friend, this is a foe, this is a neutral party, don't react to it. When your diversity in your gut microbiome gets lower, you don't have a lot of species richness, we don't have these responses with the immune system, and that can cause more of that immune response, allergies, all the things that we're seeing more and more and more today. I mean, and like when I was younger, I mean, I don't think I ever saw an EpiPen or peanut allergy and things. This is so common today. Kids are struggling with allergies. So you have to really look outside the box and wonder what could be happening. Of course, there are certain things like monocropping that's causing all of these allergies, like with gluten and things like that. But the big picture is we are not caring for this amazing heirloom within us. This is the best gift that you can give your children. And if we are starving our microbes, that we are losing species at a most incredible rate, then we're doing a huge disservice to the next generation.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a lot. So, as far as like you did mention as we eat diverse foods you were talking about. That's really important for our guts. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And I know as someone who deals with a lot of women and a lot of your clients they're saying I have this unexplained weight gain too. I want to talk about the weight gain because especially a lot of the women that I speak to are dealing with that and
Yeah.
how they think they're eating healthy. You want to eat healthy, but also you mentioned we want to eat diverse things. Can we talk more about that and why it's important for the diverse foods? But what if they're eating something that they think is healthy and it's not reacting with their bodies in the way it's causing them like maybe a negative reaction?
Yeah. How old are these? Are we? I mean, the age matters too, right?
Yeah,
Where
I
we are
think
in the journey, midlife, like,
midlife is the majority of my listeners.
yeah. So midlife, what's happening is your microbiome is changing. Our gut microbiome is not looking at just digestion. It's looking at many other things. It's looking at hormones. How are they? How is that playing out? Inflammation, things like that. So someone in midlife who is struggling with maybe estrogen is slowly tanking. Progesterone too.
Mhm.
um, it's important to remember that the gut microbiome really has like a bunch of bacteria called the estrobolome, and its job is to really metabolize the estrogen and get it out of the system. But if there's this enzyme called beta glucuronidase that it makes, if you make too much of it, then instead of just getting it out of the system, it can recirculate the estrogen, causing that weight gain, causing that brain fog, causing that inflammation. So that is a possibility with when you don't have a species richness in the gut microbiome. On top of it, what are we doing at midlife? We're dealing with children, we're dealing with so many things, our careers, all of that. So our stress is really at all-time high. So
Yeah.
cortisol is really high. Cortisol and estrogen acts as a buffer for cortisol. So you get that HPA axis nice and calm, but without that, you have the stress response of cortisol high for a very long time. And belly fat, for example, that's where most of our cortisol receptors are. So that increases, and we end up storing a lot of fat around our bellies. So all in all, our gut is microbes are not just about digestion, but it's about how we metabolize these hormones, how we take care of inflammation. There are so many things that are happening. And the biggest thing that's happening is our inability to digest and metabolize food like before. If we don't have diversity, that means we don't have enough players doing the going to bat for us, doing all of these incredible functions for us. So the less species, fewer functions. And so that ends up with, let's say, for example, we have two kinds of phyla in our system called Firmicutes and Bacteroidetes. If that ratio is off, There's a lot of research showing that that can cause an increase in weight gain.
Wow.
So it's not just about looking at your best friend and saying, wow, you're genetically blessed. You have to think of your microbially blessed. Something that she or he is doing is getting them to metabolize their food in very differently from, let's say, you or me. So that's why it becomes very important to up the diversity, and that diversity is coming largely from diet. Yes, there are probiotics and prebiotics, and there's always just this magic bullet people think, but really it's about eating for them.
So,
And that's coming from plant sources.
okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, where do you start? Like, if somebody's listening to this and thinking, okay, I eat the same, I'm so guilty of this. I get like on a rut and I kind of eat by the same things. I'm eating the same vegetables. I'm like, I get stuck doing, okay, this works. I like it. The kids like it. And then I realize I haven't really tried anything new lately. What do you tell your clients? Like, how do you help
Yeah.
them when they're just starting out here?
It is, and it's very challenging. I mean, I do this day in and day out. I like to walk the talk, right? But
Yeah.
without a system in place, it's very challenging just to do this because we tend to mono eat. We have
Mm.
maybe five foods that we really, really enjoy, and we just go back to it, and that becomes our comfort thing, right? Especially, I mean, think about it when we have like deadlines, we have so much work, our children are, have, taking a good part of our energy. There's no room to think about what can I eat today. But that conversation is also happening in the same part of the brain. So that's relegated to, oh, this is not as important. Let me just eat the same four or five things because my boss is on my case. I have my deadline. There's so many things that's there that are competing for our attention. So naturally, this is not important. But if we did have a system for it, I say, okay, this is how I'm going to up my diversity in my food, then it becomes easier. Before you know it, it becomes a habit. It becomes as procedural as brushing your teeth. That's what we need. We need a habit that becomes procedural, that we're not thinking, we're not using that part of the brain to think, what should I eat today? It's like, okay, I know what I'm having on Monday, what I'm having on Tuesday. So it becomes a little bit more easier on our brain and on us, really following this format. So that's one of the main reasons I wrote the book, because I saw so many clients struggling to up that diversity. And my mantra for my clients and for anybody who's listening is, you need protein, but stop worrying about what kind. I mean, find a protein that works for you, that you are able to digest, that's culturally something that you feel works for your family, because some families are really into fish, others are into chicken or turkey or vegetarian plant-based protein. So whatever that is, anchor that protein, because that protein, especially in midlife or older people who are struggling with sarcopenia, we need some protein. Get that protein down, surround with plant sources. It can be as simple as that. And that's where this whole idea of eat the rainbow came. You want different colors.
Hmm.
And why? Because each fiber, when it's fermented, will give you a specific kind of metabolite that is going to be of such value for us. Like short chain fatty acids, we talked about it, right?
Hmm.
Let's say you have, like, I don't know, like a black bean soup. You're able to digest most of the protein. Maybe the black bean soup has some guacamole on top, the good fats, but the fiber itself goes to the colon, and in the colon you have these trillions of bacteria waiting to digest it. They digest it, they ferment it, and they metabolize it and produce something called short chain fatty acids, butyrate in particular.
Hmm.
Why is this important for you as a listener to know? This butyrate is an energy source for the colon cells. They really cut down on inflammation. They help you, it's a signal to your mitochondrial health. So you have more energy. They keep your weight in balance. They have a slew of things that they do for us. But without that fuel, which is fiber, you are going to be really, really low in short chain fatty acids. So it's very important that we are in fiber famine right now. I think most of us probably have about 15 grams of fiber. So up until till you can say, I know with confidence, I can say I can eat up to 30 to 40 grams per day, you have to create a system to make this a reality. And so for that, it's really important you know what the basis of this way of eating is. So in the book, I say, let's have like foundational layers. And the foundation is coming from your fruits and vegetables. So right there, you have like a variety of fruits and vegetables from different. I mean, let's say you like Italian food. You may make a, I don't know, arugula salad. Mexicans could like something else. Indians would have some beans that they like or dal. So every culture has something amazing to add. So I think that's important to eat culturally because we are all fascinated and we love certain cultural foods. And within that, if we start looking for sustainability, then there's a good chance that you're going to stick to the diet. So we start with foundational layers. We add some enhancers like beans and nuts and seeds and good fats, and finally some functional foods. These are the fibers like beta glucans and things like that that are really incredible sources for our microbes to grow and thrive, and for you to have a diverse amount of bugs in your gut.
That's great. I feel like the last few years, especially as I've been doing this podcast, finally I've heard people start to talk about fiber. I think it was so protein focused for so long that people, like, if you're really focusing on protein, it's easy to not get your fiber in. I feel like, it's easy to be like, oh, well, I'm
Because it's
getting
very satiating.
it is.
And don't get me wrong, I think protein is important, but not at the cost of not getting enough fiber. And this is why, I mean, if listeners understand the science behind it, they're more apt to follow. For example, let's say you have a steak, okay? It's protein, right? Saturated fat, protein, all of that is supposed to be digested in the upper parts of your digestion. But let's say it gets to the colon, maybe you don't have enough enzymes to digest the protein, or it's way too much protein. Your bugs in your colon are looking for fiber. They don't get it. Instead, they get this excess protein. There are enough bacteria who've kind of adapted to having this excess protein, and they'll metabolize it, but they metabolize and make compounds that are toxic to us, like ammonia or hydrogen sulfide, picrazole. And too much of these toxic metabolites is not good for us. So so then what is the goal? Not to have animal protein? No. Eat your protein, but have enough of that fiber so your microbes have the fuel that they need to do the right things for your body. So that is my simplest mantra. I think if everyone can have a little bit of protein and all the fiber sources, we're in a good place. We don't have to complicate eating, right? It can be simple as that. So,
It's very complicated when you're listening to so many different things and then people get confused. And I heard you mention beans a few times. We love beans in my house. That's like my kid's favorite thing to eat. Can you tell us, just while we're still on the topic of the food and like helping your gut, feeding your gut, like a diverse diet, especially examples of fiber? I'd love to hear if you have some. Maybe you can give us a few that are like really gut friendly foods, maybe vegetables that somebody could start with today that they're not doing. Maybe they're like, I do broccoli every night and I do green beans. Like, give us some fun ideas because examples can be really helpful.
yeah. Well, yeah. Like, for example, let's say you find broccoli as, oh, I always eat broccoli. That's fine. Have the broccoli today, but next week, maybe just go to the Chinese market and get Chinese broccoli.
Mm.
And so just changing that one thing and just the diversity changing a bit is all that your microbes are looking for. It doesn't have to be a huge shift. Another thing is if someone has been avoiding or restricting their diet for a very long time, Fiber is a fantastic superfood, but it may not be for you because you may be gassy, because you don't have the right players to digest it, so you're not bloated and things like that. So learning how to cook them is very important. Soaking them overnight, getting rid of the water and then cooking it with spices like bay leaves and epazote and things like that will reduce that flatulence.
Hmm.
So it really does help. And if someone is starting brand new, start with a smoothie because you can add anything to the smoothie. And the blender is like your digestive power. It blends everything, but the fiber is still intact. You're still getting the fiber versus someone who's just juicing. What happens when you're juicing? You're just getting all the fiber out and you're just drinking the juice. That may not be that great for your microbial population. But if you're able to keep that fiber intact and say, hey, at this point, my digestion can only handle a smoothie in the morning, add all of the things like lots of blueberries, fantastic antioxidants, maybe banana that's been frozen, so the resistant starch increases in the banana. Adding a like coconut water, things like that, adding moringa, superfoods. It can be really simple things like that that makes you feel satiated and you're getting so many micronutrients. Because I think it's important to remember that micronutrients come from diet. We're not making it, so it's really important that we get this from food. And if you start your morning with that such an incredible smoothie, you're already right there, right? Maybe your lunch is not that great, and maybe you skip dinner, but still you have a good jump start for the day.
I love those examples. I didn't know that about the bay leaf, and I didn't know that about freezing a banana because I do freeze my bananas because they go bad so fast.
And
But that's
adding
so smart.
spices is a good way to increase your antioxidant mix. Like cloves, for example, is the
Okay.
highest on the ORAC scale. So
Wow.
adding a couple of cloves into your smoothie, adding some saffron. Saffron really kind of calms you. It's just amazing for your serotonin, your tryptophan, things like that would be great. Making like a clove tea
Mhm.
is great for your gut, for your digestive lining. So spices and herbs are incredible. And a lot of cultures will, I mean, I know here in the Western world, we just use herbs as a garnish. There are many cultures where they use herbs like a vegetable. They actually eat tons and tons of it. Parsley, for example, is great for weight loss. Dill, great for lactating mothers. So every herb has a story to tell, an incredible amount of inner wisdom that it shares with you. So
Oh, I love that. I need to go to the grocery store. You've given me so many examples. I do love parsley, and I use it, like you said, we use it as a garnish here mostly.
yeah,
But my mom does these really great smoothies, and she puts like a ton of parsley in her smoothies and so many other great things. And I love the idea of getting so many things into
yeah,
a smoothie. I even forget to do it for myself because I do it for my kids, but then
yeah.
I don't do it. So,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean, a simple thing could be like I have a smoothie builder called Anu Smoothie, just to play on my name.
mhm.
I promise you, I didn't come up with it; my clients did. So it's formatted. So there's greens, there's bitter greens, because bitter greens, what do? They really help your liver. So bitter greens are like dandelion, mustard, arugula. So you have a simple green, you have bitter greens, then you have herbs, dill, cilantro, mint, which is great for your digestion, and then you have spices, you have protein powder, and a liquid of your choice. It can be coconut water. I love pomegranate juice because it's
Mm.
so high in polyphenols. It's fantastic for the microbes. So adding some polyphenol rich pomegranate, all of this really, really helps make the smoothie dense and you feel really, I mean, it's great for your skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have many clients who come to me for weight loss, but at the same time, they're struggling with acne, psoriasis, things like that, eczema. And when you dig deeper, you realize that it's connected to the gut. They're also struggling with gut issues like bloating and IBS sort of symptoms. When we clear the gut, the skin clears as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say when you mentioned the pomegranate juice, I was going to be like, I bet that's great for the skin. So you have a lot of clients that you work with that they can notice. Like I would even think one issue that a lot of people will have is just dry skin, just like no acne, nothing like that. But I've seen people change their diet and that's even improved. Have you
Oh
seen?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that can also be a gut lining issue. Zinc, omega-3, all of that are fantastic for having a good gut lining barrier. And when that gut lining barrier becomes stronger, because of the foods that you're adding, the skin becomes softer, the skin responds to these foods as well. Turmeric, for example, is a spice that we've all heard of, and
Mhm.
fantastic. You can just make a paste out of it with avocado and use it on your skin, and it's an Eastern Ayurvedic mask, but I find that it really helps a lot of clients. Of course they look yellow for a few days, but it's really
It's strong. It stains. I love it. But yeah, and I love turmeric and internally too.
yeah.
It's
And
so good.
ginger is
And
another one that's fantastic. Yeah.
so I want to ask you another thing that I don't think we have not mentioned, but switching gears a little bit. When it comes to gut health, do you see, because okay, weight gain and sleep are two things that I hear from women in perimenopause or midlife that I hear consistently. Do you find that the gut can affect sleep? And
100%.
okay, talk to us
100%.
about that. Yeah.
Because think about it, our sleep, we have a circadian rhythm and we are diurnal,
Hmm.
we have morning, then by sunset, we're getting ready to sleep. Okay. Our gut microbes are also pretty much following the same pattern.
Mm.
So if we eat erratically, eating at night, or not sleeping, maybe binging on Netflix, that can really cause a decrease in gut bacteria. Even one day can cause that. And certain research is showing that it takes about 7 days to recover that bacterial, profile.
Wow.
So even one day of poor sleep can make you search for about 500 more calories the next day.
Wow.
And those calories are not coming just from broccoli.
Yeah.
I've kind of experienced that myself. While I was writing the book, I pulled many, all-nighters.
Mhm.
Of course, in the back of my mind, I'm feeling guilty about it. Like, oh shit, I'm writing all this stuff and I'm just doing this, just really. But what you do is there are days like that in your life. And almost always in the morning, I would be looking and searching for something fun. I'm like, is there nothing fun in this house to eat? Because I protect my home environment. I don't have junk in the house because if it's there, you're going to eat it. Doesn't matter if you're doing, oh, you're a functional health coach or a doctor or something like that. It doesn't matter. You're still, because it's a dopamine hit.
Mm.
Your brain remembers that it made you feel good just for a tiny millisecond, but you forget that, but you just remember feeling good and you want that so badly. And we know that sleep is connected to that feeling of I have a craving for this kind of food.
Yeah.
So sleep definitely I think is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, there's sometimes it's unavoidable. You're not sleeping the best or something. There's an event or something. I
Or with
last
kiddos.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Last night, my son came into the bed and he's not so little anymore. And he's like, I got to sleep with you. Then the dog came and I was like, oh my gosh. And I will really feel it more, so much more now at my age now, where if I have very much of a lack of sleep, I'll even feel like sick. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I'm coming down with something. I'm so exhausted. I can't get away with it anymore. So I know that is something that a lot of people, that a lot of women that I talk to deal
Yeah.
with
And it
as
is
well.
connected to weight gain.
Yeah.
No doubt about it,
Well,
because
it's
you are eating
interesting.
more. Yeah.
With the 500 calories, that's like
Yeah.
a huge amount. And I did the same thing, when I, like a few weekends ago, when I had gone out later than I normally would ever stay up. And I was just like, I am starving. Like starving. It was like I really was like I wanted to eat everything. I wanted chips.
Yeah.
So that's the fun thing that we're
Yeah.
looking for.
And also it depends on who you're like, let's say you're watching Netflix and your partner is not on the same journey as you.
Mhm.
That can also undo things. And this is something I tell my clients all the time. You're the 5 people you surround yourself with. Change your spouse's eating style along with yours. I'll even give you a gratis, session just so that they're on board with this because so important that
Yeah.
because when we change as a family, our children change, everybody is listening to the same message so much easier.
Yeah. It's true. I know. And then like you said, protect I love how you said you protect your environment, you protect your home. If you're going and searching for Ruffles chips and they're not there, you're not going to be able to eat them. So
No, I mean, and when does it hit us? Like we're in a bad mood or
yeah.
we're kind of crying after a show or whatever. Something happens. You are less apt to go out at 11 p.m. at night looking for that ice cream. If it's not there, it's not there, right? You make do. But if it's there, of course you're going to have it. And you're
Yeah.
never going to stop with one spoon.
Yeah. The serving size is definitely smaller than what you're actually going to
Yeah.
consume for sure.
Yeah.
So, you have so many I've learned a lot. I've been taking notes and I hope people are also taking notes because there's so many things that first of all I want to buy at the grocery store. But is there anything else? Obviously, I want you to talk about your book and like how clients can work with you, but before we get to that, is there anything else you want to share about the gut that I haven't asked or that hasn't been covered yet?
Well, you're a mom, and I'm sure people who listen to you are also mothers, maybe.
Mhm.
I feel like this is such an important message for mothers. My grandson is like 6 weeks old, and I feel like it's the best heirloom you can pass on to your children, teaching them about taking care of their microbes. And there's something amazing about kids when you kind of weave the story and you tell them about the importance of the guests inside of them that you need to take care of. They take this responsibility so seriously, way more than any adult would.
Mhm.
They have that innocence and this feeling and that nurturing. And it's the best thing we can teach our children, to really kind of teach them how to eat not just for themselves, but for these microbes within us, because they're not going anywhere, Jess.
Mhm.
They're with us forever and they've always been a part of the journey, and it's going to continue, especially let's say mothers have had a C-section. A C-section baby is really already gone through a lot of turmoil. They don't have the same microbes as a vag birth.
Mhm.
But so someone like that, like I've had both vaginal and a C-section baby, and I see such a difference in how they show up, from a digestive perspective, sinus, all of this, and making sure that they have that jump start from 0 to 3 years is so important. That they have the right kinds of bacteria supporting them for their overall lifelong health.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. That's so it then also like talking about how the foods that you've been mentioning and how we can prepare things for them and they can see us doing it and have
Yeah.
these foods that will have a lasting impact on
And
them.
I think that's where smoothies and things like that
Yeah.
really come in handy, because children will take to it. You just make it more fruity initially and then slowly show them what the bitters do. And they're amazing. Kids are incredible. It's just that we as adults need to be that role model for them.
Yeah. And we need to learn how to do it. So
Yeah.
tell us about your book first and then tell us how people can work with you.
Well, my book is called, here somewhere, Flourish from Within. It's available on Amazon. And the book came from my clients asking, hey, I wish we had one book where we could learn about the microbiome and learn how to take care of it and maybe some recipes. So I took that to heart. So the first section of the book is about the microbiome in really lay people's terms. So it's not too sciencey. It's a part storytelling, part science. And the second part of the book is a diet that I propose just like I said on the show right now, anchor the protein, surround with fiber. So it kind of lays out the diet for you to follow. So there's a system in place.
Hmm.
So once you learn the system, then it's easy for everyone to follow. And the last part of the book is just recipes, easy recipes to follow, like smoothies, salads, but really using veggies and fruits that you may not have heard of, or it's not part of your 4 or 5 that are, the usual culprits, just go beyond that, So,
Yeah, that I can't wait to get this book because I feel like I've really been totally honest. I've been stuck like buying my go-tos, and just doing the same things over and over. And I'm very inspired
yeah.
to mix it up a little bit.
So anyone who buys the book can also gets an app.
Okay.
So the app has a lot of recipes and information about taking care of your microbiome. So,
Okay.
and then
Perfect.
if someone's interested in weight loss, I have a cohorts for, it's a cultural cohort is how I look at it, because everyone, and culture to me means a cuisine that you really have an affinity to. And that's what I mean. Like maybe the culture could be friends who are learning to cook a certain way and feed their children, family, and they all want to follow the same thing. Or it could be culture coming from ancestors. So I really enjoy that because I see such value in the sustainability. It's not just about losing weight, but keeping it off and
Hmm.
maintaining that weight. And from a microbial perspective, we know that's coming from a non restrictive diet. So you really have to eat more in order to lose weight and keep it off.
Yeah. I love that. That's such a good ending to this. That's so important, that message. So I will make sure to link all of your information in the show notes. Thank you. This has been so amazing.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing with us.
Thank you very much. It was fun.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.